today we're talking about a new opening on the black side, because last week I promised I would do that, so of course I looked at an opening. And the opening I chose is called the Karo-Kann. You might be familiar with it. I'm not. I heard about it, but I didn't know what the moves were and stuff like that. I played 10 games with the Karo-Kann, 7 of which I won, and without further ado, let's just get into the theory. So the Karo-Kann defense is only the Karo-Kann when they play e4. And the idea here is going c6, then they will, probably take the center. They can do a lot of stuff. We'll get into that, don't worry. And then you play d5. Now, here they can push, they can take, they can defend, they can get their knights out, their bishops out. In the 10 games I played, I met quite a bit of variations. Now, you're also going to see that I didn't know how to handle them. But before we get into that, let me just explain to you why it's not a Karo-Kann if they play d4. The reason for this is you can still do the same thing. It's just called the Slav defense. It's you do the same thing, but it's different variations and stuff, and it's its own opening. So we're not going to go over that today. So we're not going to meet any d4 players. But at my level, 90% of my games I meet e4. But that is also the reason why I'm not going to continue with the Karo-Kann, because it isn't as versatile. And because I will need an opening to do 100 games on the black side of the board, similar to what I did with the white side of the board and the London opening a few weeks ago. Let's get into the first game here, where we see the most basic way of the opening, how it usually goes. And yeah, we're only going to go over the opening. It doesn't matter how I win, the middle game and stuff like that. We're just going to see e4, I answer with c6. He puts 2 pawns in the center, and I immediately also do that. Now here we see a game where there is no take and there is no pushing of the e pawn. He only defends it with the knight. And I just keep on developing, get my knight out. Now he gets his bishop out to keep protecting this because they're attacking it. And here I make a mistake in the opening. You're supposed to wait for them to play the knight out so that you can pin it to the queen. And if they decide to push you away with your bishop, you just take the knight. We do kind of get a similar position. And now I do just a fianchetto. You can do that if nothing's happening on the board. You can always fianchetto also in this opening, and you want to castle this side. Not in every single Karo-Kann opening, but here it's fine. So we just fast travel that, and see now he pushes me away. But now I just take the knight. Pushing away doesn't do anything in this opening. Ideally, you want him, to have pushed his queen or something, and then he needs to put his knight here, and then he will, double his pawns in this file, F file. But that did not happen. We take, he retakes with the queen, which will happen most of the time, or with the light square bishop. Now we just begin to open up the position. We finally break the tension. We take. And yeah, I win a pawn in this position. And it's going good here. And now I castle, and I would say we're now in the middle game. On to the next game. First game, we saw an opening where it turned out great for me. Now we're going to see something where it doesn't turn out that great for me in this opening. e4, c6, knight out, and then I answer with d5. I always play c6, d5, no matter what they play. And then we have 2 pawns in the center, so actually almost the same position as we were in. But this time I do the right thing. I do, pin him to his queen, and he doesn't push me away right away. He just takes, and whenever they do that, just retake. It's fine. Now they push me. Now I take. He gets his queen out. You got to be careful of this side, and we're going to see that soon. Because now I'm the one that's pinned with my king. And that's kind of annoying, because in order to castle, I need to go up here, and I don't really want to castle this side because I lost a pawn. Now I have a lot of development to do over on this side if I'm going to castle, so that means this is going to be pinned for a long time. And it's going to end up actually going quite bad for me, because now he takes with a check, and he slide up his queen. You got to be careful of this. In the Karo-Kann defense, you're very, very weak on this side of the board. You got to be so careful with this. I retake, He takes me with a check. I move my queen up, which is absolutely the worst. I should just move my king, because now I lose the rook. Anyways, I go back to pushing back. He takes a pawn. And now I come back in the game because he castles and blunders his queen. And I go on to win this game, but that doesn't matter. Next opening, what do we meet here? Hello, it is I from the future. I don't know where we are in the middle of the video. I just wanted to do some redo of the commentary because I was so bad at it. I'm trying to improve on it, but sometimes I just, you know, say what moves I do and I say a lot of and stuff. I notice it in the edit and I'm like, I really hate putting out stuff like that. But anyways, I just wanted to retake this because it's a very important distinction, because in this game we see what happens when they push their e-pawn. Now, what you want to do in this position, I'm just going to show you quickly, is you want to push immediately. The reason for this is you want them to take you so you can push your knight out. This knight attacks this pawn and it's very hard for them to defend. Both of these pawns are actually hard to defend. So even though you're down a pawn, it's fine because you're probably going to win these pawns back. Now, exactly how you do that, I'm not sure, because I am, I'm new in this opening and I haven't met this before. Not in the 10 games that I played at least. But from what I remember, and go watch someone that actually knows this, it would probably do you better. But if you want to hear it from me, then if they probably develop their knight, you want to stick to the plan, get your bishop out here. If they push it, you take, they probably take with the queen. And also looking at this, be careful about that. You are defending with your own queen, so remember that. But you do this, let's say they do not push, but get their other knight out to also attack this. Now you got to be real careful here, all right? So just defend with your pawn and develop like you would normally. At some point, you will see opportunities to take these two pawns, I'm pretty sure. Just develop normally. That is not what happens in the game. And let me show you what happens if you don't challenge this pawn, right away. What happens if you delay that pressure when they push? So now I do the dumb idea with, instead of waiting for the knight coming out so you could pin it, I just get my bishop out, and I can't really justify moving the bishop a second time just to pin the knight. I'm behind enough as it is in development, so I wouldn't do that. Now he blocks me from that entire, availability to do that, but it's fine. Just develop your knights out. This knight usually wants to go here because it wants to go to the f5 square, and then it's also one of the reasons why you want your bishop not on f5, but on g4 instead, so that you can actually get your knight here, because that is very hard to challenge from the opponent. Anyways, what happens in this game is that I want to push his knight away, his bishop. He takes, I retake, and from here we play pretty standard chess. I'm putting both my bishops on this side because both of them are protected, and they are kind of, cutting off a lot of space for him. And the fact that I don't utilize it, and now I decide to challenge this pawn, and that isn't too great. So now it takes, and now he moves his queen. I take on this side. So you see my pawn structure is now it's my pawn structure that sucks. And that's because I didn't manage to, one, when I pushed this pawn, I should have gotten my knight out. And two, I didn't challenge that pawn early. So now I'm dealing with a very bad pawn structure, which limits my availabilities. I blunder my queen, and I blunder my rook. So not really my proudest game. I mean, it takes a while for him to see, but not my proudest game, and I decide to resign. So in the next game here, we're going to see how the Karo-Kann deals with the scholar's mate. So he goes e4, I go c6, he gets his queen out, looking to just completely attack my king. I go d5, he takes, I retake. And now you can probably see, if you're paying close attention, we've already blocked the scholar's mate. He can't get his bishop out to line up on this f7 square. But instead, he can move into check. We block it with the bishop. And he decides to trade here. I get my knight out. Maybe I should take him with the queen. But I did not do that. I decide to push his queen back. And now I take the center in a very interesting way. Because he's just focused on moving the queen. Some players are like this. And when you meet players like this, keep bullying the queen. Now I force him to, trade the queens. And I would say that I have a lead in development here. He hasn't moved any of his pawns. His bishop is blocked in. His knight isn't moved. And his, it's not going great for him. In the next game here, we're going to see what I would call the exchange variation. So when white decides not to just put his pawns out and keep the tension on the board, but decides to take your pawn, your d5 pawn, you obviously take back with c6. And he goes into check. It's a user's check. Always block this with the white square bishop. That also means we can't, use it to deal with this. But it's fine. We go out. He gets his queen out. And I force, or try to force, a queen trade. He doesn't take it. And now I just, maybe I should have gotten the knight out before blocking my queen. But yeah, it's whatever. Now he attacks my queen. And I re-attack. He gets his pawn out. And now we're back to the check. But I can just move my knight away. So I should have probably done that the first time I checked like this, because I could have developed and gotten my knight out and attacked this. But nonetheless, that was not what happened. And I pushed for the center here, which really, in hindsight, wasn't the greatest way. But I think I saw that I could get this check here and kind of ruin, not really anything. I was hoping to ruin something, because at my level, you never really know what they do. But yeah, I think we're well outside the opening here. I get my knight in a good position, and I go to the back rank, and he resigns. Probably realizing he was close to mate. Alright, so in the last game we're going to look at with the Karo-Kann, we're going to see something very unorthodox. We're going to see the traditional standard way here, but then he jumps his knight in. He can do that. I'm not threatening it with anything, but it's very hard to defend. Now, the reason why I went out with my knight here was because I remember when watching Theory that you wanted your knight on the f5 square. Usually you would do that. Instead of going to the h6, you should probably go to e7 instead, once you push that pawn and gotten this out. But now we're in, uncontrolled waters. I should probably challenge this as fast as I can. So I do that. Black square bishop. I challenge this side. Now this is completely free. And I do lose, now I've gotten a pawn and a knight for the price of 2 pawns. That is all right. And yeah, now I press his queen and he blunders it. I don't know. Maybe it's a mouse slip. Maybe he wanted to go, I don't know where he wanted to go. But it doesn't make sense to do this because, yeah, I just take and he resigned. That's it for the Karo-Kann. I really like this opening. The only reason why I'm not going to use it to make a 100 games video is that I can't create 100 games with it. If I meet D4, then I can't use that games. And playing 100 games in it of itself is work enough on its own. Because when you do it on the one side of the board, you actually have to play around 200 games to make a video like that. Because you also have to play on the white side. So I really want to find a black side opening that can be used in any scenario instead of only when they play e4. But I do like the Karo-Kann, and I will try to learn it more, because as you probably heard, that I'm not entirely sure where you go wrong. I did have a little bit of experience with it in these 10 games, where I probably also like this opening because I won the majority of the games, right? And it put me at, we're close to breaking my highest rating. I'm at the rating 560, and I think it's probably going to go down from here when I'm going to try new openings and try to make the 100 games video. But it's not going to be out for a while. I need to play the games first, and yeah.
Raindrops are falling on my head, and just like the guy whose feet are too big for his bed, nothing seems to fit. Those raindrops are falling on my head, they keep falling.